Hello and welcome to Mets in the UK podcast. You are listening to Mets in the UK. We are here as your home for all Mets things content in the UK. Catch the podcast on Spotify, YouTube, and all good podcast hosts. You can also catch us on all of the socials. So we're on Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, and X. And you can find us at Mets in the UK or use the hashtag MITUK to get involved. Today, I am joined by our Joe. Hi, Joe. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I've come dressed as Steve Cohen today.
You
That's
have.
I just noticed.
Vibe going on.
Yes.
And delighted to be joined by Mr. Beasley. Andrew, how are you?
Yeah, I'm very well, thanks. I'm glad the season has started because I sort of don't follow it so closely when it's not the season. So it's good to have it all kind of up and running, something we can talk about beyond, spring training or whatever. So yeah, all good.
Wonderful. We are missing our Tom and Tracy this evening. They are on their holidays, their jollies. Tom's off with the family and Tracy is en route to the US to attend our home opening weekend. So be sure to keep an eye out for Tracy and our flag pictures. Welcome. Give us a shout if you see Tracy over there. Well, we've had, it's not yet been a week, but it feels like a week already, doesn't it? It's been pretty jam-packed. So we had our opener away in Houston. It's fair to say we didn't get off to the best start. The whole series was really close, in fairness. We didn't get blown out of the water at any point. We opened up with a 1-3 loss. Lindor got an RBI, sending Marte home. We got Soto singling in his first at-bat as a Met. Of course he did. Holmes struggled a little bit over his 4 and 2 innings pitched. He gave up 3 runs to the Astros over innings 2 and 3. And we couldn't get going beyond that. We followed it up the next day, though, with a win and a pretty epic one at that, given that we had Soto's first home run. We won 3-1. Winker and Vientos got RBIs in the second. McGill only gave up the 1 run over 5 innings. And then we had the bullpen, one after the other, for the last 4 innings, holding it down, including Diaz's first save of the season. And then we couldn't quite get the series win, rather. We went down 1-2. Soto got an RBI. He was present throughout. He was the one hot bat, it seemed. But we had that brilliant base running from Siri to bring that run home. That was electric. That was so much fun to see. Canning was impressive. Despite giving up 2 runs, he was good in his outing. And that wrapped up the series against the Astros.
Can you remember what I said last week? Sorry, really quickly.
Yeah.
I said last week.
You weren't going to get away with that because that was
runs won't be a problem, says me last week.
You absolutely jinxed us. You absolutely jinxed us. But it's like they heard us giving you a bit of grief for that, Joe, because then they came alive last night. Last night, we had a 10-4 win against the Marlins. And actually, let's be fair, the Marlins have had a good start. So they were, I don't know where it's come from, but I'm glad that we were there to kind of bring them back to earth a little bit. Marte, Nimmo, Torrens all got home runs. Torrens was a little dubious, but it counts. It was there. Whether it went off the glove or not, it counts. And then, of course, we had the Pete Grand Slam. This is where we need Tracy for her Pete. Joe, if you would like to try and have a go in Tracy's absence. There we go.
Not quite as good, but
yeah. I mean, it's never as good as Tracy doing, isn't it? And then we scored 7 runs in the 5th inning. I was, as you can imagine, all over the place. silly. I can't remember what time it was, but whatever time it was, I was wide awake at that point. Peterson only gave up 2 over 6. He got off to a bit of a shaky start, but then locked in. And it was very much a Mets crowd. It was bizarre.
It's often the way there. It always seems to be quite popular.
Yeah, it really was. It was very much a Mets crowd, which was really fun because, even when the Marlins were scoring, there was next to no noise. And when the Mets were scoring, it was just, it was crazy. But that was great. It was almost like a home game for us. So long may it continue. Guys, what have you seen? What have you thought? What have you encountered over the last few days?
Go on, Andrew, you go for it.
Well, yeah, pretty sort of, I wouldn't say it was exactly what I expected, but I think that the Mets tend to start seasons slowly. I think they have pretty much every year that I've been following them. I think sort of like, as it sounded like Joe mentioned last week, I mean, I didn't think they'd struggle to score runs quite as badly as they did. I mean, you wouldn't think with that Astros series that arguably the pitching was better than the hitting, but I guess it was, at least if you look at the results, or certainly better than we might have expected, because obviously there are valid concerns about the Mets rotation this year. And then there's that Marlins game where they score 4 home runs, and it's none by Soto and none by Lindor, because obviously he didn't play, and it's 4 other guys. All right, Alonso, fine, but then it's like you wouldn't necessarily expect home runs all the time from the other guys who got them. So it's a typical sort of Mets start of like, you don't really quite know what you've got. But I think you put it in the context. I mean, ultimately, lost the first series, but I mean, it's Astros away. Whatever you think about the Astros, I hate them. They are a regular postseason team, and it is away from home, so it is tough to win those sort of series. So to get one there and hold our own in all 3 games, I'm all right with that. It's okay. And obviously now we'll see what happens in the rest of this Marlins series, and then start off at home and probably do well there and go from there, sort of thing.
Yeah, cool. At least we didn't have to wait as long for a win this time, did we, this year?
Absolutely.
Which was nifty. But yeah, I completely messed that series up by being massively overconfident about the runs. But like Andrew said, we were competitive, weren't we, in all the games? And I think the bullpen was a massive plus, so that bodes well. And our bats always, don't say this, our bats always get hot. And we started now, so it's just, trajectory like that. Ever the optimist.
Yes, absolutely. That's my job. Yay. It is. You're right, Andrew. It's not an easy place to go. So it's not a surprise, Joe. Yeah, we've not gone 0-5 to start the year. So I think that people may have had a bit of short-term memory loss when it comes to how we started last year, because of course the world was falling apart. Now the world did feel like it was falling apart for a little bit. Can we just mention the MLB fail? My word, how awful was that? We're all set I'd rushed back from an appointment in London, was really proud of my little self. I bolted into the house, got everything set up, 2 minutes to 8, got it on. No dice. Really?
Yeah. The only saving grace was it like when you realize, it's not just me. That's the only kind of like, it's not just me.
We're all suffering together. And let's not go into their attempt at pacifying us, because that was no use whatsoever. The other thing that's worth talking about for a moment, and I'm going to make no apologies because this may come across as a little bit of a rant. Everywhere was blowing up about the game on Friday being on Apple TV, and also almost equally about the game on Saturday being on Fox. Now, obviously, Friday's game got a little bit more attention because of Soto's home run. Now, firstly, Apple haven't done an opening Friday before because there aren't games on opening Friday as a rule. They made it happen, and they made it happen because we signed Juan Soto. Guys, we want our team to be successful. We love that we've made the biggest deal in sports history. So how can we then be surprised when national networks want to show our games. I want to showcase some of the greatest players. We can't want success and want a good team and then not expect to have to accept things that come along with that. We were lucky that it was on Apple TV because, in my opinion, of the national broadcasts, the Apple TV is the best out of them. I think the production of it is incredible. We were
Pretty
also
slick, isn't it?
It really is. It's a really well. I mean, I remember watching the first season that they did it, and it was fairly painful at times, but they got it together. They learned a lot from that first year, and they pulled it together. And since then, it's been really good. We were also really fortunate that we had forever Mets fan Wayne Randazzo on the call, so you could tell like he gets Met fans, and he knows that they wouldn't have been particularly pleased about it being on Apple. But for those of you, I'm sure everyone's seen the clip now, and should have picked up on his nod to Gare during the call, which I thought was just pure class. He included an out of here for Gary, and I think that was so great of him to do. Fox on Saturday perhaps wasn't quite as good because it's not so slick, and we didn't have someone who gets Mets and Met fans calling it. Do you know the biggest thing for me was it messing up my Sunday evening bliss? I love my Sunday baseball, so it messed that up a little bit for me. But these are the things that if we want success, we're going to have to accept. There's going to be more of them. We can't want it. We can't want it always. What are your thoughts, Joe?
I suppose it's a tiny sacrifice in a 160-odd game season, but I think what makes it harder is because we are spoiled for all our home games with Gary, Keith, and Ron. That's what makes it difficult because we've got it good normally, haven't we? So, but you know, I agree in terms of the Apple. It's pretty slick now, and I watched a bit of the Fox one. It's just so cheesy, like proper old school American cheesy, and I struggle with that.
Andrew?
Yeah, it's just part of the game, isn't it? I was thinking while you were talking about, football, soccer being the sort of main sport I follow. And if you want to watch that in the UK, you have to have Sky Sports, you have to have TNT, you have to have Amazon Prime for some games. I think they had one match week was on either Apple or Disney, I forget which. Point is, it's just unfortunately the way of the world with sports that the games get spread around various broadcasters, and of course the clubs, the franchises, the teams, what you want to call them, they all sign up to it. So as disappointing as it can be for the fans, it's just the nature of it, and it's not done with any sort of any maliciousness or anything like that. It's just how it is. Like you say, we've got some big players. They're going to want to show the big players. They're not going to be taking Chicago White Sox games or whatever. They're going to be taking Mets games because we've got a lot of the best players, and I'd rather that than be the Chicago White Sox or whatever. So, yeah, it's just the way it is. And ultimately, you just have to kind of live with it.
Absolutely. And it's also worth noting that that game was still on the radio with our Howie and Keith. And Keith did a great job of the call on the radio. You know how I feel about baseball audio on the radio. It is one of my favorite things in the world. And Keith was wonderful at calling it. So I'm really pleased that they were on the call as well. So if you didn't want to be watching the Apple broadcast, you could have been listening to our boys in the radio booth and giving them some love. So well done on that, Keith, as well. Okay, news. There's been a few bits and pieces going on. Firstly, the Mets are wearing a black 7 sleeve patch this year to honour Ed Kranepool, which is a lovely touch. According to Forbes, the Mets are now the 6th most valuable franchise in baseball. $3.2 billion. It's eye-watering. Eye-watering. 7% increase from last year. Onto the players' side, unsurprisingly, another injury. Blackburn onto the IL with knee inflammation. Max Kranick, Brazaban, and Hayden Senga made the opening day roster. We talked a little bit about Senga last week. He's doing his bit. Azakar cleared waivers, outrighted to AAA. Canario, bless him, went to the Pirates.
I missed that. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
He was always going to be snapped
Yeah,
up.
it was inevitable, wasn't it?
It was. And I'm pleased. Hopefully he finds a good home there. We talked a little bit, and Andrew, you touched on how well our pitching was in the Astro series. Canning, McGill, and Holmes put up a combined 2.98 ERA in that first series. And given the concern that there's been over our starting rotation, I mean, that was really impressive. Speaking of impressive, but more of the lovely kind, we must pass on our congratulations to the Lindors on the birth of baby Koa Amani. He arrived on Sunday, which is why, as you mentioned, Andrew, Lindor didn't play last night. He was at the ballpark. I'm sure if we'd have needed his bat, he'd have come in to pinch hit at some point, but I'm kind of glad that we didn't need him to do that because it meant that we were epic. Congratulations also to Jay Horowitz, who today celebrates 45 years as part of the Mets organization. The work that he's done over that time is incredible, and it's so lovely to see him as such an integral part of the organization. Andrew, any thoughts on the news? Anything that you want to pick out there?
No, it's sort of pretty textbook week, isn't it? You know, injuries and trades and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it's incredible for Jay. 45 years in any job, anywhere is ridiculous, and that sort of thing probably won't happen anymore. So it's good that he's lasted that long, because it's just incredible to be part of something for that long. I mean, it's you know, it's not the sort of news we think about when there's injuries and trades and stuff like that. But no, it's just really cool. Just to be able to do that is just incredible.
Absolutely. Joe?
I've got some news. It's not entirely Mets related though, but it relates to things we've chatted about before, just to antagonize some of the listeners. But down at the Orioles game, was it last night or the night before? I can't remember. They had their first hot dog race, and just to put it out there, any takers on which one I've won? Toria? Ketchup one. So I think that's our pick for the old hot dog race.
Ketchup belongs on hot dogs.
I think that proves it once and for all, basically.
Absolutely. So, absolutely. Yeah. Ketchup for the win.
Yeah.
Ketchup for the win.
Yeah, there you go.
The other thing that's been causing a lot of discussion this week has been torpedo bats. So, the Yankees in particular, but my understanding is it's not just them that have been using them. And let's also say it's not every player. So, for example, Aaron Judge is not using a torpedo bat.
He could use any. He could use a twig. He can still smack one out.
So these bats have been weighted in such a way that there is a more concentrated area of the wood where it's more likely to make contact with the ball, therefore giving a bit more power, in theory. It seems to be working. I mean, they had that absolutely crazy game the other night, which is how it kind of became almost front page news. Before I give my thoughts, I'm interested to hear yours. Andrew, have you got any thoughts on the torpedo bats?
Not particularly, beyond that I don't have a problem with it. I think it's fine to kind of look for some innovation and stuff like that in the sport. I find, as obviously an outsider, I find baseball quite weird in the sense that in some ways it's very analytical and forward looking with like launch angle and all these sorts of stats and all this stuff. And then in other ways it's like really old fashioned, and it may as well still be the 19th century in how it sort of handles itself. So it's a bit of a weird mixture like that. But ultimately, the bats are within the rules, and so I'm kind of impressed that I'm sort of surprised it's not happened. I'm impressed someone's done it. Good luck to them. I think it might be a coincidence that they had all those home runs. I'm sure that won't happen in every single game, but I don't have a problem with it, I guess, is my main takeaway.
Yeah, Joe?
I've got some kind of first-hand experience of this kind of thing, you know, from my brief cricketing days, because I had a bat. I think it was a Kookaburra bat, and it was called the Big Kahuna. And it's a similar thing in that I was like, I'm not comparing myself to any kind of MLB player, but the premise of that was the bottom of the bat had a massive sweet spot. So if you're able to make contact, which now and again I did, it's going to fly. So I'm with Andrew. I'm thinking I can't believe no one's done it before, and I think it's quite clever. Although I did read on The Athletic that there was a few people around the league using it a couple of years ago, but it just wasn't. There's a bigger news story then, but I did like Bartolo's tweet as well the other day, last night, when he was trying to decide how many home runs he would have got if he'd used one, which I thought was genius.
It was genius. We love Bartolo. We all love him. And I agree with you guys. I think that, it's legal. I'm surprised it's taken this long. I agree, Joe. I think it's only become news because the Yankees happened to score that many runs in that game, and it's the Yankees. The one thing I would say, well, there's two. One is they still have to make contact. For it to be effective and do anything, they still have to hit the ball, which isn't an easy thing to do. So, yeah, still that aspect. Secondly, any perceived advantage, I suspect, will be short-lived because everyone else is going to catch up quickly enough. They're not going to get away with having that to themselves. Not that they have, but now it's out there. That more people are going to look for them, and they'll soon catch up. So if there is any perceived advantage, I think it will be relatively short-lived.
It's a good excuse to hate on the Yankees anyway, isn't it? We like doing
exactly. But that's why it's news, right?
Yep.
And we had our very own DJ attending the first MLB UK Clubhouse meetup of the year. I was having to be very careful then because we've recently changed the name. That was at Moonshot in London. We've seen some pics and vids from the MLB UK team. It looked like they had a lot of fun. By all accounts, the food was great. So, guys, I mean, we've been to various meetups and things ourselves. I mean, what do we think in general to us all being able to get together and share those things, Joe?
Yeah, the more things are, the merrier to spread the gospel of baseball. But obviously, London's a good hub for that thing because all the facilities and the venues are there. But if at some point we can expand it to some other places around the country, that'd be awesome too, just because costs and travelling and all that kind of thing. But it looked like it was a great venue, batting cages and all that kind of stuff. So it's great to get people together from all different teams and have a bit of banter and a bit of socialising. It's all good.
Absolutely. Andrew?
Yeah, definitely. I will make it to one of the events at some point this year. I want to wait for one when the Mets are actually playing. That's why I didn't go this time. And also, on a selfish level, it's a shame that it's gone from East London, which is where I live, to West London, which is like an hour away. That is a bit of a shame. But no, I will definitely make it along to one when the Mets are on and go and check out the Moonshot at Westfield. So hopefully David can make it as well when I go, but if not, hopefully there'll be some other Mets fans there, I'm sure.
You two are trouble when you're together though. I don't that's a good idea.
Well, on a Sunday night as well, it's just mayhem.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Lots of school night, Mr. Beasley.
Exactly.
Not that we're speaking from experience. But yeah, meetups are always great. I know that there's always clamour for them elsewhere. The reality is a lot of the people are based in and around London. And more crucially, the venues are in London. So if anyone's listening that is aware of a venue in other parts of the country that are fairly easily accessible, so if there's something, if we're looking Midlands, maybe like Manchester or Birmingham, somewhere West Country, perhaps like Bristol or something, then let us know so that we can try and get some things together, because it is wonderful. It's a game that we all love, and being able to share it with other fans is always a joy. Okay, so looking forward, we just have the small matter of our home opener. Not that we're excited much. Probably not as excited as Tracy, of course, because she will be there. So coming up, we have 2 games against the Marlins to finish that series. So we have that tonight and tomorrow. Tomorrow's is a UK friendly time. So hopefully some of you guys will get to watch that. We get Senga starting tonight, so it'll be interesting to see how he goes. However, he is up against Alcon. I always trip over his name.
Yeah, me too.
Sandy.
Sandy.
Sandy will do. Sandy will do. So yeah, I don't think it's going to be straightforward, but we'll see. It'll be great to see what Senga's got tonight. Following that, we go home for series against the Blue Jays. So we have Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Friday is at 8:10 p.m. UK, so we can all enjoy that lovely Friday night action for us. Sunday is 6:40, so we can enjoy that too. And we can just revel in being back at City Field and getting to see all the lovely sights that we enjoy there. And then we host the Marlins ourselves. So before we next speak, we have another game against the Marlins. So because we are historically terrible at doing predictions for what's going to happen in the week ahead, why not do some predictions? How are we going to go across those 6 games, Mr. Beasley?
I think we will go 4-2 in those 6 games.
Okay.
Because the Marlins always give us trouble, so I wouldn't be surprised if they won one of their home games. And as much as it's early days, Blue Jays have started pretty well. They had a split with the Orioles for 2 games each, and then they beat the Nats last night. So I think they've sort of started pretty well. So they might take one of the 3, but I think we'll win that series. So probably 1-1 the next 2 Marlins, 2-1 against the Blue Jays, and then beat the Marlins again. So yeah, 4-2, I reckon.
That is a good shout, Joe.
You know what? I think we might get this cheeky sweep somewhere, but I think that might come at home against the Marlins. But like Andrew says, they're pesky, aren't they? So I think we might win tonight, and then maybe the Marlins might take the last game of this current series. And then the Blue Jays is going to be a tough one because they're a good young team, aren't they, with some superstars of their own, maybe potential future Mets on show, but we'll see. So I think we'll win this series, but I don't think we'll sweep that one. So I'll go a sweep and then 2 series wins. Very confident.
Okay.
Oh dear.
I'm with you, Andrew. I think probably 4-2 and a very similar split. My only hope is that the one that we lose against the Blue Jays isn't home opener. I really hope that we get off and give all of those fans that have been waiting for months and months to see us a great start to the year at City. So let's hope we get off with a win on Friday. And then, yeah, we'll see how we go the rest of that series. But you're right, Joe. The Blue Jays have got a really good, exciting, dare I say, team. So it will be interesting to see how we do against them. I think it will be a good yardstick. But let's not forget, it's still super early in the year. We don't need to lose our heads. Bats are waking up. Now they're getting over Joe's curse. So hopefully
could be some torpedo bats on show soon. You never know.
There could be. So going 4-2 would do for me. I'd be happy with that. Okay. Any last thoughts?
I saw a bit of DeGrom the other night, Texas, on his comeback, looking like the same old DeGrom we used to love, getting that absolutely no run support as well. But it was good to see him back. I did enjoy watching him. I did miss him slightly.
Yeah, he is missable, and especially if you see him back at his best. I mean, that's just peak. Speaking of missing folks, or not so much missing folks, did you see Terry Collins, who of course we all adore, knocking around town with Noah Syndergaard?
Yeah, I think that's great. They're like the angry combo from that classic game, the ass and the jackpot.
They are. It was so fun.
Chuckle Brothers.
Shout out to our friend Anthony, because he was an absolute sweetheart and FaceTimed me a few times from the event that they'd been at, so that I could join him with some of the atmosphere on on opening night, which was very much appreciated. And I got to speak to our friends, Mr. and Mrs. Met. So that was all very exciting. But yeah, I just found it weird. And by all accounts, like, Syndergaard went down pretty well. I was half expecting him to get a little bit of grief, but apparently not. Any last thoughts from you, Andrew?
No, just looking forward to watching more baseball. All the UK friendly times are the ones that I can do. So yeah, bit of disappointment with the MLB TV, as we said on the Friday night. But yeah, hopefully that's all in the past, and yeah, get some good games, like you say, a couple this weekend. So yeah, just good to see the team play regularly. That's the main thing.
Absolutely. Okay, people, let us know what you think to our start so far. Get involved. You know what to do. Comment, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Give us a tweet if you are going to home opening this weekend. Please send us your pics and vids. We love to see them. Give the boys a roar for us. Our Tom should be back next week, which will save you all from having an introduction absolutely mullered by me. So all being well, he will be back, and we will all see you this time next week. That leaves us to just say, let's go Mets.
Let's go Mets.
Let's go Mets.